You ever notice how you can feel wildly motivated at 2 a.m.? Like, this is it. Tomorrow you wake up at 5, hit the gym, drink water like a responsible adult, and then tomorrow shows up and suddenly you're negotiating with your alarm clock like it owes you money. I'll start Monday. Actually, next month. Okay, fine. New year, new me. And somehow the motivation you felt so strongly just disappears. It's not that you didn't want it. It's not that you didn't mean it. So what's going on? Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people miss. You don't have a motivation problem. You have an identity problem, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The way you act isn't just about what you want. It's about who you believe you are. And that belief quietly controls everything. Let's break that down. There's a type of person, you might recognize this, who treats motivation like a spark. They wait for it, chase it, depend on it. They watch a powerful video, feel fired up, maybe even start something immediately. They clean their room, open a notebook, plan their entire life in one sitting. It feels productive. It feels real for a moment. But a few days later, it fades. The spark is gone, and so is the effort. Why? Because underneath all that energy is an identity that says, I'm someone who acts when I feel motivated. And that sounds harmless until you realize what it means. It means when you don't feel motivated, you stop, you hesitate, you delay. Your actions are tied to your emotions, not your identity. So when motivation dips, as it always does, you don't just lose energy, you lose direction. Maybe that's you, or maybe it's someone you know. Then there's another profile, the planner. This person loves structure. They build routines, schedules, systems. Their notes app is basically a productivity museum. Everything is organized, optimized, color-coded. On paper, they're unstoppable. But in reality, they struggle to follow through, not because they're lazy, but because their identity hasn't caught up to their plans. Deep down, they still see themselves as someone trying to be disciplined, not someone who is disciplined. And that tiny difference changes everything, because when you identify as someone who is still trying, you give yourself an invisible escape route. Skipping a day doesn't feel like a contradiction. It feels expected. Of course you slipped. You're still figuring it out, right? But here's the twist. Your brain is always trying to stay consistent with who it believes you are. So if your identity says, I'm inconsistent, your behavior will quietly align with that, no matter how perfect your plan is. And that's why so many people stay stuck, even with great strategies. Now there's a third type. This one's more subtle. They've tried before. Maybe many times. Started working out. Stopped. Started studying seriously. Burned out. Tried waking up early. Quit after a week. And after enough cycles, something shifts. They stop saying, I failed at this. They start saying, I'm just not the kind of person who can do this. And that's where it gets dangerous, because now it's no longer about effort. It's about identity. I'm not disciplined. I'm bad at consistency. I don't have what it takes. Those aren't observations anymore. They're labels. And once you accept a label, your mind starts protecting it. You'll avoid situations that challenge it. You'll notice evidence that confirms it. You'll ignore moments that contradict it. It becomes a self-fulfilling loop, not because it's true, but because you've decided it is. And breaking out of that loop isn't about more motivation. It's about rewriting the identity itself. Which brings us to the final type, the one that changes everything. This person doesn't rely on how they feel. They don't obsess over perfect plans. They don't label themselves based on past failures. Instead, they focus on small, consistent actions and let those actions slowly reshape their identity. They don't say, I need motivation to work out. They say, I'm someone who doesn't miss workouts. And then they prove it, quietly, repeatedly, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's boring, even when it doesn't feel impressive, because they understand something most people don't. Identity isn't built through intensity, it's built through evidence. Every time you act in alignment with a trait, you cast a vote for that identity. Skip the workout, a vote for I'm inconsistent. show up anyway. A vote for I'm disciplined. And over time those votes add up, not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, until one day, the thing that used to feel hard starts to feel like you. That's when everything shifts, because once your identity changes, your behavior follows naturally. You don't fight yourself as much. You don't rely on motivation as heavily. You don't negotiate with your goals every morning. You simply act in a way that matches who you believe you are. And here's something most people overlook. Identity doesn't change in big, cinematic moments. It changes in small, almost invisible decisions. The moment you choose to start when you don't feel ready. The moment you continue when no one's watching. The moment you keep a promise to yourself that nobody else even knows you made. Those moments don't feel powerful, but they are, because they quietly rewrite the story in your head from, I wish I could be that person, to, this is just what I do. And over time, something even deeper happens. You stop needing external validation. You stop announcing your goals to feel accountable. You stop chasing that temporary rush of inspiration. Instead, your confidence becomes quieter, but stronger. It's no longer based on what you hope you'll do. It's based on what you've already proven to yourself, again and again. And here's the part that most people resist: the boredom, the repetition, the lack of excitement. Because building a new identity often feels underwhelming. It's not dramatic. It doesn't look impressive from the outside. No one applauds you for showing up on a random Tuesday when you didn't feel like it. But that's exactly why it works, because you're no longer performing for others. You're becoming someone for yourself. So if you've been stuck, starting and stopping, feeling motivated then losing it, it's worth asking a different question. Not how do I stay motivated, but who do I believe I am? And more importantly, what kind of person am I proving myself to be through my actions every single day? Because whether you realize it or not, you're always reinforcing something, a pattern, a belief, an identity. And once you become aware of that, you get to choose. So which type felt familiar? The one chasing motivation, the one planning everything but struggling to follow through, the one carrying labels from past failures, or the one quietly building a new identity, one action at a time. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe you're shifting between them. But here's something to think about. If you stopped trying to feel motivated, if you stopped waiting for the perfect moment, if you stopped telling yourself stories about what you can't do, and instead focused on becoming the kind of person who simply shows up, thus, what would change? And how would your life look a year from now if you started casting those votes today? And more importantly, what's one small action you'll take today to begin that shift? Let me know how this lands for you.